welcome to a concept I have I think I finally really truly figured out. At least in my experience. Everyone is different. The usual disclaimers. So, what is the difference between a beginner witch, an intermediate witch, and an advanced witch? Let's talk about it. So, I have come to realize that I really feel like I personally am truly moving into advanced witch category as I am nearing 2 decades in. This September, it will be 16 years as a witch. So, yeah, my witchhood can get a license and drive a car. Like, it's getting old. And I feel like only now I'm starting to get into advanced witchcraft. Which is weird. I think in previous times I would have considered myself an advanced witch, but honestly, looking at things now, I kind of feel like I was still... Like, I don't think the intermediate category gets enough credit for what happens in that time frame. And maybe this won't happen to you, but I talked to my husband about it for hours. We had a huge discussion about it, and we both kind of came to the same conclusions. We did not start off witchcraft together. We had very different beginning points. Like, he was still Christian. I started from atheism. Like, we came from very different points. He was like 18, 19 years old. I was 13. Like, it went very differently, but we had such a similar lineup of things. So maybe this will be similar for you, maybe not. And it is one of those, I would love to hear from people who have done this for more than a decade. If you have experienced this, if you've done even 2, 3, 4 decades of witchcraft, where do you fall into this category? Because a lot are under the 10-year mark. There's a lot of newer witches, which is fine, but there is something to be said about those of us who have done it for extended periods of time, where it's nice to bounce ideas off of people who have been doing this for a minute. So, to begin with, beginner witch. To be honest, this is, in my opinion, the hybrid era, which is a weird place to start, but like, every witch I've ever met, ever, as a beginner, you do the hybrid. So, the hybrid is what intuitively works for you, what you can afford, mixing and mingling and trying to do things with what you've got and your own intuitive guide. You know, it might be like, ooh, like, I'm gonna put these stones together, or I'm gonna arrange my altar this way, or I can't afford the very fancy, like, statue, so I'm gonna use this one I found at a thrift store to represent this deity, even though it's not perfect or whatever, or my rituals and whatever, I'm gonna do it a little different, I'm gonna experiment and whatever. That plus deep hunting for everything ever. Like, most beginner witches I know are on the deepest hunt for information. You are finding my channel, you're finding all of the other channels, you are hunting down every information you can. You're looking at blogs, you're looking at various accounts across social media, you are trying to find every book possible, you're looking at local classes, like, you're probably looking for a coven, like, you might have started like a study group with some friends or family. You're trying to do it all, and you're trying to learn it all, and it's a very admirable thing. You know, you feel like there's a lot of beginner witches feel like they have like the checklist that you need to do of like, you need to find your goddess and your god, you need to find your power animal or your totem animal or your spirit guide or whatever you want to call it, and you want to learn how to cast circle and create an altar and how to use the tools and how magic works and how to cast spells properly, and then also making it your own. And you're like, oh my god, like, my intuition is like a thing, and like, you're trying out different stuff. Again, hybrid. You're doing both. And then it changes at some point. And I think it only happens retrospectively. Like, you never know when that shift hits. Because again, beginner takes a long time. It's a long time of experimenting and learning. It takes years to really be in that era. And again, looking backwards, you're like, oh yeah, that was the beginner baby stuff, yeah. Not in a bad way, but it's just like, you look back fondly on your little baby witch era, your little beginner witch era. It's just like, aw, kind of thing. And like, it's fine, because it's just like that naive child going about its life, doing its thing, and you're like, oh, so cute. And then, at some point, years later, you can be like, oh, And then this is when it started to shift into intermediate. And to be honest, I feel like intermediate is when you kind of lean more heavily on research, when you're wanting it confirmed other places. And this is where you dive deep into specific topics. You don't want to just know the basics, you want to know all of it. You want to know all of the different ways that tarot has ever existed, every book ever you're trying to read it. Or you're going to learn every little tidbit on astrology. You're not just going to know your sun sign or maybe your top 3 things. Like, you're going to know everything ever. You're going to know the conjunctions and the other stuff. I don't know a lot about astrology. I read about it, but then it just in and out. It's like when you study for a test, you're like, I don't remember 90% of what I just did, but Ravenclaws know. So like, intermediate, I feel like that's when you're like, oh, I need to know all of the crystals. I need to know their exact properties and like go deeper than just rose quartz is for love. Like, you want to go more than that. What else is it for? How does it connect to the other quartz family crystals? What is the similarities between them? Like, you want to go deep. And I feel like that's really when you start to, as an intermediate witch, you might really hone in on a particular tradition. You want to be initiated all the way up through the ranks of whatever coven, whatever tradition. Or you might, again, do self-study, but you might go through different things and really dive deep into them. And it's just this era of study. It's really deep into learning from others, and you kind of step away from that soft curiosity you had as a beginner, where you were still learning, but as a beginner you were so excited and you wanted to do things kind of right, but also you were okay with experimenting because it was still so new and you didn't have that like as much pressure. And I think it is also very niche to when you started as a witch. I should have mentioned that, because honestly, I don't know that you would have the same experiences if you get into witchcraft later in life. 30 plus, I think it's going to be different because you already are able to shut off that just innate random bit of like connection where you have that intuitive hit and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try that. Like, my husband was telling me, like, he used to do spells where like he would utilize like the energy in a wall when he was in a room. I would never think of that. But also I did other random stuff where like now you would question it and you'd be like, oh, I don't know. Like, could I do that? Would it work? And I think that's adult brain, and you need to have like teen brain that's able to do that, where you're a little more like willing to rebel against things. And maybe you don't grow out of that era, but like a lot of us do. And so as an intermediate witch, or if you're starting later in life, you might still fall into this category, but the intermediate witch is really like wanting to hone your knowledge. You want to know everything. You study all of the books, you study the history, you study how it changed, and you're in like that like scholar era. And then out of intermediate comes advanced, and then you go back to the other stuff. But again, different because of that hybrid. You have the other side of that coin where it is now your intuitive stuff. And to be honest, I think the prime example of an advanced witch is Kellyanne Maddox. If you have never watched her channel, you need to go over there. She is the advanced witch. She is the one who is like, if you look at her altars, the way she does magic, it is such a random collection of stuff, and it works, and it's beautiful, but it is so unique to her. Like, if you've seen her altar tours, some of the stuff you're like, what? And like, she combines things in ways that don't always make sense to other people, but she's confident and it works. And like, she is the queen of advanced witchcraft. Like, the fact that her craft is so unique to her, to what she, feels intuitively. I mean, she works with Joan of Arc and Freddie Mercury and also Hell and also Mother Mary. Like, that's a really interesting combination of people to work with, right? Different energies all over the place. And yet, when you look at her craft, you couldn't see it any other way. Like, of course it's gonna be them. Like, of course it fits. You see her altars and you see her different poppets, and like, it makes sense. It's like, yeah, that level of just intuitively going with what works for you and building it very unique to you is what, to me, feels very advanced witch. Because there is no book for you as the advanced witch. It's unique to you. And I think that's something that I've always kind of known, and I swear over the years I've probably talked about that, but like genuinely it's really hitting home of just how much like your witchcraft needs to match what you need. Like, I'm still moving into that right now, and I've been talking about it a lot on Patreon with my underworld journey, but genuinely it is like for me, I'm not sure where circle casting is even going to exist in my craft anymore, and what does the altar really mean to me? Not from a book, but from me. Not, again, between the two hybrids of, I'll make it work, I'll do it my own way, it's fine, I'm gonna do this and this and this, but also still having the foundational things, words. As a beginner witch, I would mix and mingle and do things my own way, and it was exciting and fun and, you know, creative, but still kind of contained. And then it kind of moved into, it has to be this, it has to be specific. You know, you need to make sure you put your tools in the correct directions and set up your altar by this way or that way, trying out different things, but very like in the box. And then you realize you don't need the box at all, and you just meander and do your own thing. Like, advanced is just so unique to you, and it takes a very long time. Again, I'm 16 years into this, and I went hardcore. Like, if you're neurodivergent and you know the hyper focus that happens, like your special interest, mine was witchcraft, right? I have been reading and studying witchcraft hardcore since I was 13. Every blog I could come across, every book I could find, like every YouTube video, like I went deep as much as I could for years now, for almost 2 decades. I haven't stopped. And sometimes I'll pump the brakes a little, but even then I still keep doing it. Like, there's never been a time that I've gone more than maybe 2 months without deep research. It is my special interest for this entire lifetime. And so like, for me to say that like I'm just abandoning all of that and doing my own thing, like you have the background knowledge, and I think that's where the advanced witch kicks in. And you do need so much time to get to that point. And there's been so many times where I could look back and be like, I'm an advanced witch now. But it's the first time I actually like feel like I'm not even quite there, but like in that transitional period, that initiation time into it. But it's like a very slow initiation. And to be honest, as I looked back on my life, I realized there was a pattern of an underworld journey before you move into the next era, which is insane. Because like I never knew that. And my husband had the same thing. He would look at, because again, we talked for hours about this, and he had the same thing where there's an event that is your underworld journey, and then you come out of it as a different version of yourself, beginner witch, or your intermediate self, your advanced self. It's wild. And so like your advanced witch is just unique to you, whatever that's gonna look like. And I don't know exactly what mine is gonna be, but again, the best example across all spectrums that I have ever found is Kellyanne Maddox. Again, her altar's really different. Her magical style, really different. Not in a bad way. It's actually quite inspiring. Would I ever want to do magic like her? No. I would never want to work with Mother Mary at all. Everything Christian gives me the ick. I would never want a rosary, like a legit actual rosary. I would never want that. But it works for her, and like when you see it, that weird collage of her craft, it's beautiful, and it's her, and that is what advanced witchcraft feels like. And I don't know what mine is at all. I think mine's gonna have more of a spooky flair, but like I don't know. I'm just getting there, which is weird because again, 16 years, like next month, because we're in August now. It is August actually, so literally next month, less than a month actually, as of recording this, less than a month, and I will be 16 years as a witch. And it feels weird to say that now I'm moving into advanced witch, because like what? And none of the years lined up beautifully either, right? Like it's not like, oh well, I was like there's no nice way to cut that of like, oh well, I was like a beginner witch for 8 years and then 8 years as a intermediate I don't think that math would quite line, I mean, actually, kinda. Now that I think about it, kind of lines up, but I don't know. Kinda. But I don't know that that would be the timeline for everyone. I don't think 8 years is the magical number. But also, then you would be moving into the new era at your year 9. Numerology. 9 is the teardown restart. I don't know. I am just rambling at this point, but hopefully this kind of made sense. If it didn't, let me know and maybe I could do like a follow-up. But yeah, I'm very curious. Again, this question really goes out to my advanced, my long-term witches. Y'all have been in this for over a decade or more. Preferably, I don't know if I have many like elder witches that have been doing this for like an extremely long time, but like, oh my god, could you imagine if Kellyanne did a video response to this and did her own version talking about this? That would be sick, because I would love to hear her perspective of like beginner, intermediate, advanced, and probably she wouldn't agree with my things, but I don't know. I'm very curious, and if you are a new witch, it's just, you can say hi. Like, it's not that your words don't matter, they do, but it also is just, there's sometimes space for the advances to just come together and talk about things. And if you feel like you're in the intermediate, it'd be interesting to hear. And especially if you started later in life, do you have those experiences? So I guess that could be for my beginners if you started later in life. But I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. A huge thank you to my patrons. Again, over there, I'm walking you through my underworld journey as it's happening, because like, why not? I don't think we talk about that a lot, where your craft is just all over the place and it's not pretty and it's messy and it's weird, and it's not weird in like a cool spooky way. It's weird in like the makes you slightly uncomfortable and you're like, I don't like this kind of way. Talk about it over on Patreon. And yeah, until next time, thank you for coming along, and I will see you all tomorrow for another book review.